We are now on to Article 19, Acceptance of Massachusetts General Law, Adoption of Community Impact Fee on Professionally Managed Short-Term Rentals. Do I have a mover for Article 19? Mr. Dundas.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to accept General Laws, Chapter 64G, Section 3D Alpha, authorizing the imposition of a community impact fee of 3% on the transfer of occupancy of short-term rental in a professionally managed unit, which term is defined as one or two or more short-term rental units that are located in the same city or town, operated by the same operator, and are not located within a single-family, two-family, or three-family dwelling that includes the operator's primary residence.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Who would like to speak to this before it goes to the floor?
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Reed.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. As chair of the board, I'm recommending this article. I fully support its adoption for several reasons. Firstly, it addresses a pressing issue facing our community by mitigating the adverse effects of professionally managed short-term rentals, which are not always full of transparency. Secondly, it provides a sustainable funding mechanism to invest in affordable housing and infrastructure, more importantly, in this case, which are critical for the well-being and development of our town. Finally, by aligning with Mass General Law, the adoption of this article ensures that our community operates within the legal frameworks while responsibly managing the impacts of short-term rentals that are impacting communities across the Cape, across the country, and globally.
Thank you. It's now open for questions from the floor. Mr. Blem.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Please introduce yourself.
Certainly. Colby Blem, town voter. I rise in support of this article and all community impact fees that are presented here today. Part of the reason that the housing crisis in this town and across the country exists is because the need for housing has suddenly become in competition with institutionalized capital and private equity. We no longer compete for the need of housing with ourselves and other people who need it, but we compete with large institutions with vast sums of capital who control homes for their own pursuit of profit. It's not just a matter of us trying to eke each other out with an offer. It is a matter of these places to live being scooped up by outside forces. All of these community impacts fees that go beyond charging a single owner, whether it's fractional ownership or professionally managed short-term rentals, draw a line at how this town allows property to be used and supports people who want to live in this town rather than just use it for their profit. Please support this article.
Thank you. Mr. Braun, please introduce yourself.
Russell Braun, voter. So I want to start with some questions because I'm really not clear. I live on Beach Point. I talk with people here who don't even know what Beach Point is because maybe we're just not part of Truro. But the way that I read this is that this would apply to just about every property on Beach Point. Is that whose sole purpose, not sole purpose, but main purpose is to provide rentals, short-term rentals. This is vacation land. So if somebody owns a unit or if there is a company that comes in and improves a property who owns multiple units, if they sell those units, they would be subject to a transfer fee? Is that, this is my question.
Sure.
I'm really not understanding this.
Thank you. Through me to our town council, John Giorgio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. No, this is not a transfer fee. If you, let's say you operate 2 units at Beach Point, when you rent those on a short-term rental basis, if this article passes, they will be subject to a 3% fee on the amount of the rental. That money is collected by the Department of Revenue along with the rooms tax, and the 3% will then be remitted by DOR back to the town.
So on top of the already, I think, 14.5% rental tax that we pay, we'll pay another 3%.
That's correct.
Thank you. Go ahead. Please introduce.
Cole Cook, town voter. I'd like to move the question.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. All right, so now the question on the floor is to move the question, so we are voting.
Point of order. Point of order.
Mr. Forgione.
There was only one comment made. I think we should allow more comments to this question.
There's a motion on the floor. We will resolve that motion. Thank you. So the motion on the floor is whether to move to a vote on Article 19. So if you would like to move to a vote, please raise your blue card. If you are opposed to moving to a vote, motion carries by more than a two-thirds majority. We're now on to voting on Article 19. All those in favor of Article 19, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Motion carries by a simple majority.